Did everyone pick up part 5 and 6 of the Bible study for tonight? Depending on how much we get done, I'm hoping to be able to finish it. Don't think that this packet is really thick. Um, if you are attending with us on our social media, this was emailed to all the church members and regular visitors of our church. But if you are attending and you did not get that email, let us know. And what we will end up doing is I'll be happy to email you this packet so that you can do it. So I sent via email part 1 and 2, part 3 and 4, and then tonight 5 and 6. And then that's the end of this piece of the Bible study. So I just wanted to get that to you. The last few pages of this is references. A lot of you have asked me, like, where do I get some of this information? So I created a deal with all the references there, like I was back in college there. So you can look at that and see where some of that came from. But tonight, let's start with our prayer list of everybody that we need to be praying for. I'm going to share some of the prayer requests that I know. None of them are in any specific order, okay? First, we need to be praying for Tommy, okay? Onita called me. She couldn't hardly talk to me at that moment. So be praying for Tommy and Onita. I'm assuming Tommy is now at home on hospice. I do not know the timelines. I don't know what they have told her, except for the surgery did not work and it's go home at this time. And you guys are familiar with hospice there. Miss Onita is devastated during this time, so please, please keep her in your prayers as well as you're praying for Tommy. Colin is doing well. He's going to be in San Antonio until the end of September. And at the end of September, he'll get to come home for 10 days. And then after that, he will be deployed to the ship, the Theodore Roosevelt. But that ship is in dock for the next 16 to 18 months in the Seattle, Washington area. So he still has work that he has to do and everything. We don't know if he'll be on base or if he'll be on the ship, and I've told him he might as well plan with his rank to be on the ship because they're not going to let him just have a house or an apartment on base when they have all those bunks right there on the ship. So I told him, I said, just because you're not deployed, you might as well plan to live right there. And but he's going to drive from here to Seattle there in the middle of October because he wants his vehicle there. So please continue to pray for him. Be praying for the COVID numbers. Okay, pray for those to come down. Other prayer requests. I'm going to wait for Brother John to come back in there, but for me to list some of the others. Gary? For sure, for sure. As of yesterday, the state of Arkansas has 8 ICU beds available, the whole state. So be praying for the doctors, the nurses, the staff there as they are kind of overloaded right now. Um, we need to be praying for the whole COVID situation. There's a lot of things that we need to be praying about on that. One of that is let's not turn this into something political. And you say, preacher, too late. It's already happened. But we need to remember those situations that we can stop using it as a political and just let's take care of people at this moment. All right. Others that we need to be praying for? Well, we need to be praying for Dr. Hobbs. You might want to write that name down. Brother R.E. Clark is no longer our associational missionary. He has officially retired as of Tuesday. And our new director of missions for Northwest Baptist Association is Dr. Hobbs, Hobbs. He was interim pastoring down in Elkins, and he will be our new director of missions. So we need to be praying for him as he transitions into this new role that he has taken. We need to be praying for those that are sick inside our church. We got, I'm reminded of Brother Jerry Lawson with his medical issues. Let's keep him in our thoughts and prayers as he is struggling with all that. Just there. Mm-hmm. So we need to pray for Mary Partain's mom. Do we have any update? Because the only thing I have is what I heard yesterday. Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay. So if you didn't get the text messages on the Remind 101, Mary Partain's mom fell and broke her hip this week and had hip surgery. And as of yesterday, when I was messaging Mary, she was better. She had come out of surgery and thanked us for our prayers there. All right? Others? We want to continue to pray, but also praise the Lord for David. I sent out a message about David. David, do you want to go ahead, and since you're here, it's much better to come from you. So for those of you that are attending our social media page, Brother David had his 1 year. He got good results, but he'll have more CAT scans ahead that we need to pray for. So let's keep that in our thoughts and our prayers. Others? I would ask that you pray for the church, specifically here at Sunnyside. How can we do an outreach? How can we do something as a church to continue to be salt and light, but also bringing and reaching the needs of those people here around us in the shadows of our own cross? Okay, so I ask that you pray. Join me in prayer for how do we do that? How do we do that going forward in this pandemic? How do we do that outside of this pandemic now? This world has changed. Our world changed when when we were attacked by Pearl Harbor. We were attacked when we were attacked on September the 11th. Our world changed, and our world changed with the pandemic. We can sit here and complain about it all day long, or we can sit there and start doing something to reaching the needs of the people that are right inside the shadows of our own cross. So I just ask that you pray there. Brother John is going to be passing around a card, 2 cards, and John, go ahead and tell everybody what these 2 cards are for.
Okay, the first one is, as we already mentioned, Tommy and Onita. So we're going to go ahead and got one of them, thinking about them and everything else. And then the second one is we got for Shannon. Just kind of let her know that she's still in our thoughts and prayers and everything else. Pardon? She can come back anytime. Yeah, you can put in there that she can come back at any time. So.
Just make sure that you put in there, if she doesn't come back quickly, that the Bean subscription is going to find her soon. Yes. For sure. Let's definitely keep them in our prayers. I just want to make sure that everybody is aware. I know that most people probably watch the news, and you probably know more than I know about this, because honestly, every time I hear about it, I want to do this number. I don't want to hear anymore, to be honest, but I still listen. But I don't know what you know, but Walmart and Tyson have mandated the of their employees that they would have vaccines, this COVID vaccine. But I do want to remind people that there are medical exemptions, but I have been told that there are religious exemptions too. I have specifically asked because, okay, religious exemptions there. What does that look like for Walmart? What are those guidelines that they're having? Do they need just you say that I have a religious reason and I don't want to do it? Do you just, if you're the employee, say that? Or do you need to come to the church and you ask for that exemption type of letter? I don't know how that's going to be. I'm about to you, Brother Gary. So this is something that we definitely need to be praying about. I was visiting with someone else that works on a small company. He makes bike trails in Arkansas and Colorado and stuff like that. And his company is making it happen. So let's definitely be in prayer about that. But Gary, you had something you wanted to share. Right now. Yeah.
My daughter is in the same situation. She's fighting to not have to take the shot. And so she works for Walmart, and she's exploring those options too. And I don't have any more details about how to do it. She's looking into it, so pray for people like her.
For sure. Other prayer requests. I will sit there and tell you that there is something going before the House and the Senate here in Arkansas that lawmakers are talking about the possible ban on private businesses requiring vaccinations. So what is that going to look like? And that's where I just ask you to pray on that whole topic there. All right, other prayer requests. All right, I'm going to ask Gary if you would open us in prayer, remembering these that we have mentioned, not by name, but in generalities that you can, God knows them. So, and tonight we're going to continue looking at our study of why trust the Bible. Don't know how far we're going to get in this study tonight, but you have the rest of the printout, so just mark wherever we get. As I have said before, I'm not covering everything that is in here, but I do want to sit there and to point out a few things. First, there are skeptics that are going to say things. I've tried to make it clear in the PowerPoints of what the skeptic says. That doesn't mean what Brother Rodney says, okay? So if you sit there and see it, right up here on the screen, it's typically in red and gray. I've read it, made it red, and I made it gray so that you can sit there and realize, hey, this is what others are saying, not what the preacher is saying there, okay? So what do they say about who chose the books in my Bible? We talked about a lot of this the last time, and I just put some other facts in there that I wanted to make sure that you had gotten. So I'm going to be starting on page 3, slide number 7. What does history actually sit there and say? And I think that it's important for us to understand and be able to decipher what is factual and what is just fake news, if you will. And we have to be able to discern those things. And honestly, if someone sits there and says a false fact about the Bible, I think we need to be able to correct that. That doesn't require us to be apologetic, okay? The primary standard for deciding which books were authoritative literally emerged long before All right, we'll try this. So we have a painting that is right here, and this is a painting of the Apostle John that appears at the beginning of John's Gospel in the 13th century manuscript. I just thought that it was really interesting to see this painting, and you will be able to look at that closer in your guide there. But you can see the detail that was preserved for us to be able to see that. Okay? So I just sit there and do you guys have any issues with the reliability versus the age of the Bible that we've been talking about? And I'm hoping you'll talk a little bit tonight. Yeah.
Well, it impresses me just the sheer number of manuscripts that we have for the Bible. We have more manuscripts for the Bible than any other ancient writing. I've heard numbers somewhere around 5,000, maybe more manuscripts. That includes partials, but just the sheer number is amazing.
So if I remember right, it's almost 6,000 that we have now, and it is. It's a great thing to have. Thank you for bringing that out. Others? Yeah, for sure. People who have kept the originals going back, but that wasn't the way they did things then. So, but true. Remember, if they didn't have whiteout, so if there was an error, it got destroyed. Remember, there is, when you look at the ancient Hebrew, you will sit there and you will see things that we call in the Bible study area of dots and tittles. Okay? And every dot and tittle means something very important. And missing a dot or tittle can literally change the word. It can change whether it's masculine or feminine. Okay? It can change the word totally. I told you that. So just them sitting there. They didn't have these beautiful LED lights that they could ride under every day. They didn't have a nice desk, if you would. They're doing most of this by candle and oil lamp type of stuff. So as we sit there and we hear people be critics of this, I think that for us to have 66 wonderful books of the Bible, I'm always amazed. I'm always impressed with that. And every time I do a study like this, I'm reminded about how much God has preserved His Word over the years, because it could have went somewhere. Gary, you was. For sure. And for it not to affect our doctrine, our salvation, Christian faith, it's really not even 99%, in my opinion, of it. I'm sitting there looking at. I give you a timeline in there. I'm not going to go over that timeline. But you can go through the timeline of how we have gotten the scripture slide by slide. And so we're going to flip through those, and you're going to look at those on your own and study them. I want to go to page 12, slide 36. And I just want to do some final word of thoughts there. So, will there be more sensitive new findings about the Gospels? Findings that supposedly demonstrate that these writings don't contain the gospel truth after all. I will sit there and say, well, of course, we're going to hopefully find more and more things. The Holy Bible has withstood thousands and thousands of attempts to destroy its truth, okay? Thousands of them. And they have tried to discredit it, discredit its authority, and yet not one of them have ever been successful. Okay? I'm trying to think of the book right now. Some of those, maybe you've read it. It's called The Case of Christ or something like that. The, yeah. Wasn't it Lee Strobel that set out to disprove these things and then became a Christian because of it, because he studied it that in depth? It is that author, right? Yep. The Bible has withstood all of this over and over again. And not one of them have been successful. The truth and the authority of the Scriptures stand strong today, regardless of every attempt to render them ineffective there. So, my question that we started out with, I want to close with. So, can the Bible be trusted? Yes. The Bible can and should be trusted as that authority. We, as Bible believing, Bible teaching, Bible thumping people, we need to sit there and to understand this even better so that when we get out there and a skeptic is starting to talk to us, that we can sit there and say, that's not right. Here's what I've learned. I pray that this study has been a study that you've, learned something, okay? But also, maybe you learned something new, but what about did something be refreshed in your mind? Thank God for the refreshments as well, because we need to be refreshed in what we already know from time to time because we'll forget about it. I heard a saying today. I was on a conference call, and this person sat there and said that they were talking about some motto or something to that effect. I was probably spacing out a little bit during part of this, but this part caught my attention. They sat there and said, churches need to be doing outreach like that they are trying to make heaven crowded. I'm like, I like the philosophy that heaven would be crowded, okay, and that we need to work like that. But let me just sit there and tell you, heaven isn't going to be crowded. It's going to be perfect space. And so we don't have to, and I didn't want to argue theologically with them at that point in time. But when people make statements, those same type of statements about the Bible, we should be able to sit there and say, wait, let's talk about this theologically. Is this a theological thing? On slide 38 and beyond, I give you the references of places that I got this. I've tried to be really diligent about keeping up with all the places that I got these type of things for. I'm sure that there's some that I may have forgotten, but there are over 27, more than 27, I was going to say 37 references of things of where I've pulled information. That's not, most people are going to just overlook that, but I give it to you so that you can look at some of these. All things that I read, do I agree with all the time, okay, from them? But maybe they have a good bit of information about something, okay? So some of the stuff is cherry picked, and what I mean is I pick this and I leave that, okay? And just like if you're reading a book by ABC author, I want to challenge you. take what you need, leave what you don't need, okay, when there's a problem. But other things about why to trust the Bible. Anything? One of the things that I have learned, even from this study and before, one of the things that I would like to do is when someone disagrees with the Bible, instead of them cherry picking things and just wanting to um, domineer my time and just want to sit there and poke at the Bible, I want to sit there and say, why don't you go and try to disprove the scriptures and then come back to me? And because I really believe, just like Lee Strobel, that they'll come back and that they're going to, if they truly do the study. And I have literally told someone to go get that book because I'm just like, go read it. Read the testimony because it'll save you a lot of gray hair. Because I think that he did an intensive study there. I want to close with us doing this one thing. We stand on the Bible. We should preach the Bible. We should study the Bible. We should read the Bible. But we should live the Bible. It's not just head knowledge. We should be walking around as the only Bible that some people will ever see or crack. Let me ask you, how, not the age of your testimony, but how is the reliability of that book that they're going to read? We know that the one that we're going to read is 99% there. But what about when we're walking in Walmart or when we walk into the bank or when we're there? How are we living? Because that's what they're going to see. They're going to see the Davids, the Orens, the Marys, the Brendas. That may be the only Bible that they see. And I will sit there and say, that's convicting to me because I need to be the same reliability so that I can point people to Jesus and not sit there and say, I don't want to be a Christian because of that person. I can tell you as a pastor, I've heard people say over and over again, I'm just as good as someone else. And they'll mention someone in my congregation. And they'll say that person cheated on their taxes, or that person stole something, or that person did that. That's the Bible that they're talking about, that they have seen. And that is not a reliable depiction of what the scriptures teach. So I pray that each of us will be the best Bible for someone else out there. Thoughts, comments? Well, Shailene, it's great to see you. I saw you sneak in. We don't want you to sneak back out. It's so good to see you. It's probably crazy there as everybody's trying to get their last minute summers in there. Brother John, do you care to close us in prayer? And can we remember those prayer requests that we have?